So, Lord, in prayer, Heavenly Father, we thank you for everything that you do for us. God, thank you for the blessings, Father. Oh, God, thank you for the blessings. We're so grateful, Father, for what you're doing in our lives, Father. For God, that you continue to work with us, Father, even though, Father, we're unruly and unfaithful at times, Father. God, we love you, we praise you, Father. We just ask that you continue to do that good work and continue to take us from glory to glory, Father. In your son's mighty name that we pray. In Jesus' name. Amen. Hear me? Okay. So we're still in the book of Ruth, and we're in chapter 3. And we're going to expand a little bit in this chapter. And oftentimes we won't find ourselves until we see ourselves there. And I was sitting at the car wash, and I don't know why this came played in my mind, standing out there, and you've heard the definition of insanity is you do the same thing over and over to expect a different result, right? And a lot of times we face ourselves in the same situation over and over, expecting to get a different result. But if we're honest, insanity is not in the mouth. Insanity is in the mind, and we expect in our mind, we're playing out these scenarios, well, I go do this and be a little bit different, it's going to be different. And it never, I don't know, it never worked out. I'm just going to go and visit for a little bit, and then you find yourself getting high and coming out 7 days later, I'm just going to go to a bar just for 1 day. That's it. Next thing you know, you just quit your thinking. And we place ourselves, we find ourselves at the feet of something that we know that's destructive. But when we're going there, we go there with not with a humble mindset or a humble heart. We go there with an arrogant heart, thinking that we can control the situation. So here's Ruth, and she's about to go to the feet of Boaz, and it's different this time. It's different than when she was placing herself at the feet of her dead husband. It's different. It's different now. This relationship is different. So we're going to pick up in Ruth chapter 3, verses 1 through 11. Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, "My daughter, shall I not seek security for you, that it may be well with you? Now Boaz, whose young women you are with, is he not our relative? In fact, he is willingly guarding you tonight at the threshing floor. Therefore, wash yourself and anoint yourself, put on your best garment, and go down to the threshing floor. But do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. Then it shall be, when he lies down, that you shall notice the place where he lies, and you shall go in, uncover his feet, and lie down, and he will tell you what you should do." And she said to her, "All that you say to me, I will do." So she sat down to the threshing floor and did according to all that her mother-in-law instructed her. And after Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was cheerful, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of grain. And she came softly, uncovered his feet, and lay down. Now it happened at midnight that the man was startled and turned himself, and there the woman was lying at his feet. And he said, "Who are you?" So she answered, "I am Ruth, your maidservant. Take your maidservant under your wing, for you are a close relative." Then he said, "Blessed are you of the Lord, my daughter. For you have shown more kindness at the end than at the beginning, in that you did not go after young men, whether poor or rich. And now, my daughter, do not fear. I will do for you all that you request, for all the people of my town know that you are a virtuous woman. Man, that last part really is. There are many places where we can spend the seconds, minutes, hours, and days that make up our lives. We can spend them in the world pursuing sin and its pleasures. We can spend our lives chasing prosperity. We can spend our time enjoying recreation. It can be spent working with family, helping others, and some of those are good and valid things. However, the best way to spend every second of your life is to spend it at the feet of Jesus. When we are there, it gives meaning to all the other things we do in life. In fact, being at his feet enables every area of our life to have more meaning. This passage finds Ruth getting to the feet of Boaz. When she got there, everything in her life changed forever. Her experience in getting to his feet teaches us lessons about getting to the feet of Jesus. We need to learn the feet of Jesus that we need to learn. Let me share the truth in this passage with you today, and I want to help you to find your place at his feet. That is the message I want to bring this morning, finding yourself at his feet. In verses 1 through 4, there's the possibilities that are found at his feet. Now, we have this thing called wishful thinking, right? But you need to have the discernment whether it's wishful thinking or whether it's faith. Okay, we often get faced with trials and tribulations, and we wish that things were different. Things that didn't happen, things that happened to us, we wish that they didn't happen, but they did happen. Right? No matter what, there's no changing in it. Once it happens, it happens. Right? So now, here you are, and you have this wishful thinking, I wish things could have been different. Now, in faith thinking, the possibilities change dramatically because you know things can be different. The thing is that you have to humble yourself in faith to be at the feet of Jesus in order for things to be different. Like I was talking to you earlier, when I had my other Facebook account, I had all these likes and all these followers, and I started getting big-headed, you know, and so I had to delete it because my faith was changing, not to the faith not at the feet of Jesus, but at the feet of the world. So I had to change all that, and you know, and I'm sorry I let a lot of people let go, but I had to save my own soul, because in the process, Jesus says, what good is it for a man to gain the whole world and in the process lose his soul? See, at the tail end of what I just read, when Boaz said to Ruth, you are blessed because you didn't go chasing after other men. There were other men working in that field. There were other possibilities. There were other opportunities. And yeah, they were in the kingdom. They were in Boaz's field. There are other men who are working in ministry, who are serving the Lord, but you have to understand that you first have to serve the Lord before you can serve the man. My wife first serves Jesus before she serves me. I'm in second place. I'm good with it. You understand? So there's a lot of things that scare people because this is now a lot of new possibilities for you. And one of them is the possibility of getting a new home. Okay? Ruth is a widow with Boaz. She has the opportunity to experience the joy of a new marriage relationship with someone who can love her, provide for her, and comfort her. All those who come to Jesus by faith receive a new home here and in heaven. Yesterday, I told y'all that we often think that salvation starts when you think of heaven. No, salvation starts now, right now. And your new home, your new residence is in Jesus Christ. A lot of times we don't think that, but it's the truth. Now, the possibility of a new hope. Ruth is a widow. As a widow, her life will be nothing more than endless days of suffering, poverty, loneliness, and defeat. If she can enter into this relationship with Boaz, her entire future will be forever altered, where the sinner is and will be without Jesus. Okay, in Jesus, the saints will find a new future. Life has meaning and there is hope for tomorrow. All we have in Him. Okay, we have a lot of spiritual blessings. What I can say for myself, the best spiritual blessing for me would be to learn how to love. And it may be different for some of you. Some of you, the best spiritual blessing that you receive may be to be accepted. Or for some, it may be to be forgiven. You know, each of you has one spiritual blessing that you know that you cherish more than any other. Maybe be self-control or gentleness or kindness. You know, you have one that you take to heart more than any other spiritual blessing. You know, for me, it's knowing how to love and to love correctly. You know, love is one of the blessings that God gives, and it's kind of like a double-edged sword. It's like any of the fruit of the Spirit. It's a double-edged sword. You use it for good, or you use it for bad. Just what type of emotions, I guess, what type of state of mind that you're in. God offers a lot. He offers eternal salvation, a close relationship with the Father in heaven, and absolute security. And he's always present. And you have an advocate in heaven, a high priest in heaven, a friend that sticks closer than a brother. Okay? The possibility of a new happiness. Ruth will never be fulfilled and happy in her current condition. She needs the love and security that can only be offered by someone like Boaz. Now, we are taught at a young age that you can find happiness in another person or another thing, another object. And I'm not trying to lock anything out, but we say you got to find your higher power. And if your higher power is a rock, then so it be. No. I've been to AA meetings and that does not work out. I've been to AA meetings and there are good AA meetings. Don't get me wrong, AA meetings, there are good some. There are people who are realistic. They were the ones that realistic former alcoholics, realistic. That's the problem with recovery. Is that you're not being realistic in your healing. You want to be happy. You want to be full of joy, but you want to have good conditions in it. You're not being realistic. You can't even satisfy yourself. How are you going to satisfy somebody else? I do things that I challenge myself on a daily basis because of what I expect of myself. Do I fail? Yes. But that causes me to realize that there's always room for improvement. Once I get to a certain area, I challenge myself to do more. I challenge myself to read the Bible more. I challenge myself to be still more. I challenge myself to do certain things because the benefits are not just for me, but for everybody else. How many of you have said, I'm going to read a chapter a day? You're going to read a chapter. Right? What happened? Distractions.
Procrastination.
Procrastination and laziness. But when it comes to go buy them a pair of Jordans,
Right on it.
all that stuff, yeah.
Right on it.
You're on it. You're on it, right? You'll save money. You'll do anything to save that money. And it's the same thing. If you want to be happy, you got to save. You got to save. You got to accumulate. You gotta start investing in yourself, because happiness isn't just here it is. No, you gotta build it. The joy of the Lord, you gotta build it. You can't just expect me to tell you, oh, here's a magic pill, take this pill and you'll be happy. Wait, if I give you ecstasy, you might not. No, give me that. Ecstasy, not ecstasy, give me that. But, I can't believe I said that. Yeah. Ruth, in Jesus, the saints find true joy. This is something that sin, with all its pleasures, cannot offer. There is great joy in knowing Jesus. What did you ever get out of your addiction? Be honest. What did you ever get out of your addiction?
A lot of trauma.
Waste of time.
Financial difficulty.
Financial difficulties. You were miserable, thinking you were happy. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I didn't have good times in there, but that's all they were. They were good times. In verses 4 through 9, it says, Ruth was commanded to watch the place where Boaz laid himself down. All of the men there, she was to isolate him and see where he was resting. If she was going to get at his feet, she had to find him. So it is with God's children. If we will obtain the blessings found at his feet, we must first find those feet. In the matter of salvation, there is no finding him. He does all the finding of the lost sinner. But for the redeemed, there is a sense in which we must find him. See, there are times when we walk away from where we should be. When that happens, we're going to have to make the effort to move from where we are to where he is. All of us have drifted away. And now, yes, you have your salvation. Yes, you have this. But you have got to make the effort to get back here. In Luke chapter 15, the prodigal son asked for his inheritance, got his inheritance. After a couple days, he packed up his sheep and he took off to another country. Right? His belongings. Packed up his belongings, went to another country, and there the family hid, and at the end, he was at the fig trough. Right? At the fig trough, he was making the fig trough confession, hey, I come to the realization that, God, Father, I have sinned against you and against heaven and earth, and make me as one of your highest faiths. He said it was. I started walking back. He had to walk back. He had to go back home. Let me tell you the saying that if you hear home is where the heart is, no. That's not where the heart is. Home is where Jesus is at. If you find yourself at the place of Jesus, you find yourself at home. I've heard many times people, disciples who have left the program, I could only be sober at the ranch. No, you can be sober anywhere. It's just your choosing. Because if you're not sober out there, then you're at the feet of the world. If you're at the feet of Jesus, you'll be sober. So it is with God's children. Okay. No, okay. A word is an order concerning the place he found him. Boaz was in the threshing floor taking care of business. He was in the threshing floor. This was a place usually located on top of the hill where the gathered grain was processed. Ordinarily, the threshing floor was circular with either hard clay or bedrock surface. The grain would be cut, gathered in sheaves, and be transported to the threshing floor. Once there, the sheaves will be placed on the floor and trampled under the feet of oxen, pulling a sled that would crack open the heads of grain. The help separated the kernel from the husk. The workers would then take a flail or a fan and toss the grain into the air. This work was usually started late in the afternoon when breezes were likely to be blowing across the hilltops. As the grain was tossed in the air, the wind would carry the lighter husk away and the heavier kernels would fall back to the floor. This process continued until all the husk and chaff had been blown away. The grain was then gathered into heaps. Families would participate, and after the threshing was finished, a time of celebration and praise would begin. At the conclusion of their feasting, the women and children would leave the floor to sleep nearby in tents, while the men stepped around with the heaps of grain. They slept with their heads near the grain and their feet away from the grain. They slept in this close proximity to the grain in order to protect it from theft. This picture, the picture in this for us is of the price Christ paid so that we might have a relationship with Him. You see, for the grain, the threshing and or winnowing process was quite severe. The grain was trampled and tossed and torn into pieces so that the kernel, the life-giving center, might be exposed. By the same token, our Redeemer, the Lord Jesus, entered the Father's threshing floor when He went to the cross for us. There He was trampled, tossed, and torn to pieces, so that life might be given to those who come to Him. When this was accomplished, and He cried out, "It is finished," there began a time of rejoicing and blessing that will never cease. Just like Boaz, our Jesus ate, drank, rejoiced, and slept. For us in God's threshing floor. Notice His meat and His drink. Notice rejoicing. Notice His sleep. His trip to the Father's threshing floor makes it possible for us to get at His feet. So see where He has been, and you will know where He's still at today. Like Ruth, we should mark where He has been and let that be a special place in our hearts. May His death on Calvary never become an old hat to the children of the King. When Ruth heard what was required, she said, "I will do it." This would require much courage and humility on the part of Ruth. It required her wanting to be with Him so much that she made the effort to go there. It required her to humble herself to lie at His feet. It required great courage for her to approach this wealthy and important man. The same sort of resolve is required for a person to come to Jesus, whether it be for salvation or for a closer walk. It requires us to make a move toward Him. It requires us to humble ourselves at His feet. It requires us to have the courage to admit that we have a need in our lives. But for those who will make up their minds to get to Him, regardless of the cost, the rewards are priceless. Are you doing everything you need to do? Are you doing everything that you need to do? I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm going to tell you right now, be upfront with you. You can't place your children at Jesus' feet if you live there. You can't lift somebody else up in prayer if you haven't lifted yourself up there in prayer too. You need to know where Jesus is at in order for you to send people there. And when Ruth had to do all these things, she had to really humble herself. You know, because she had to take herself from the identity of being a Moabite to being a widow, and now she was already at wit's end because the harvest was at that, and people they could see Ruth as a gold digger, you know. But when Naomi gave all these instructions, she didn't hesitate. She didn't hesitate to say, "No, do I have to do that? Do I have to do this? Do I have to pick up the thing and look at his ugly feet? Do I have to? Because, hey, back then there were sandals now. Do I have to look at his feet? Do I have to touch his feet? We'll make excuses to touch Jesus and to be in his presence because of who he is. What excuse are you making not to do what he's asking you to do? And how much more longer do you think that excuse is going to continue to work in you? How much more longer do you think it's going to work? You may fool some people, but you ain't going to fool God. Like Ruth, it's one of my own life. See, the context and the fears of both Ruth and Boaz, when he awakes and she pops the question, and he pops, then he awakes and she pops the question. Her request to be covered by him is a request for marriage. There is nothing immoral in Ruth's action. This was common practice in those days. Ruth's actions teach us a valuable lesson about getting at the feet of Jesus. She just came to Boaz, humbled herself to him, and asked for that which she needed. What a lesson. If you want to be closer to him, then all you need to do is get at his feet and ask. If you want to be saved, then all you have to do is come to his feet and ask. The reason we do not have the things we want spiritually is often the result of our not taking the time to ask for them. We'll ask for money. We'll ask for relationships. We'll ask for jobs. We'll ask all these blessings of God, but we'll never ask God, how do we use them? This is what happened to the prodigal son. He got his inheritance, he got his blessings, but he never asked the father, hey, how do I maintain this? And you know what gets us? Success. Because we don't know how to control the blessing of that God's given us. We ask for it, and we don't know how to handle it. We don't know how to handle it. We won't ask God, what do I do with this? How do I handle this? How do I multiply? How do I continue to grow it? Instead, we get stubborn, we get prideful, we get arrogant, we get cocky, and everything else becomes more important than God. Verses 10 through 11. Imagine the fears that must have occupied her mind as she lay there. What if he rejects me? What if he misinterprets my action? What if he publicly humiliates me? What if he drives me away and refuses to have anything further to do with me? She needed not to worry, for when he speaks, he says, fear not. Boaz wanted to be close to her too, as much or more than she did. You need never fear Jesus turning you away. He loves you too much to do that. When you come to him humble, honestly, open, and willingly, you will get what you come after. If you need salvation, you will get it at his feet. If it is a closer walk that is your goal, you will find it at his feet. You need not fear rejection, but you should prepare for a big change of life. Are you prepared to change your life, or are you still wanting to carry the old ways? Are you prepared to want it? You can ask me for this new life, but all of a sudden it's right there, and are you prepared to receive it? This may sound bad. If it does, when I asked for this new life, I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't. But I knew for damn sure I didn't want that whole life. I knew that for a fact. I knew for a fact I didn't want that whole life. And so whatever was required to have this new life, I was willing to do it. Do you have that mindset? Are you willing to do what is required to do what you need to do in this new life? Which is jealous, you can no longer be doing the things that you used to do. You know, you can, if you know that you're an alcoholic, then you shouldn't be around alcoholics. You know, if you know that you're a drug addict, you can't be around with drug addicts. And if you know that you're an angry person, you can't be around other angry people. Right? Or stupid people. Because stupid people piss off an angry person. Really, you know. But you have to have that mindset that, hey, I no longer want that old lifestyle. I don't want them to do with it. And I should not be giving myself permission to going back into that old lifestyle. We often feel that, well, I've been sober, or I've been clean, or I've been saved for X amount of time, that I'm able to dabble in that. No. Trust me, it is right there, waiting and willing to take you back in. But you have to have enough discernment to say, okay, I tasted it, I'm not there. That's not me. That's not good for me. Problem is that we never really gotten the taste of blood out of our mouth. The taste of the drink out of our mouth. Let me give you a good example. In Exodus 14, when the Israelites were leaving Egypt, you know, they were complaining all the way. Oh, Moses, you brought us out here to die. You know, we were back in Egypt, we were eating melons and fish. But you quickly forgot all the whoopings that you got. You quickly forgot the requirements that you had to do in order for you to be a slave. Let me put this in the reality. You quickly forgot that it took X amount of gold to get you this high in order to maintain that lifestyle. And you quickly forgot that you had to buy 2 bottles of Jack in order to maintain yourself, in order to call yourself functional. You had a good job, you had all this, but what you quickly forgot is that you had to do all this extra in order to maintain who you were at life. You forgot about the shame, the guilt. You forgot about the ultimatums. If you don't stop, I'm leaving. You forgot about those, right? Oh, but I'm going to go back. I'm going to just try it one more time. Let me get somebody. Go back here. B. Okay, Boaz responds to Ruth's request by telling her that he will do everything necessary to see that they are together. He will take care of all the matters involved. She has been told that if she could just get to his feet, he would tell her what to do. She got there and she was told to trust Boaz. He would see to all the details. What a truth. If we can ever just get to his feet, we will find that he is willing to do everything to see to it that our relationship is everything that it should be. You see, all the Lord wants from us is our love. He wants us to be at his feet. When we are there, he will take care of all the details of life. By the way, his name is still Jehovah Jireh. Those who are at his feet know that they can simply trust him to see all the details of life. Boaz praises Ruth for her love for him and for her godly lifestyle. Her behavior and godly life have worked together to bring all this to pass for her. The smile of the Savior is a great reward for those who pay the price to get themselves at his feet. Regardless of the price, regardless of the effort, his smile, his blessing, and his closeness are worth it all. You see, nothing gives him more pleasure than being able to take your life and mine, hold it out before the world and say, this is what I can do with a life laid at my feet. When Ruth made the effort to get at Boaz, when Ruth made the effort to get at the feet of Boaz, everything in her life changed. Our heavenly Boaz, the Lord Jesus Christ, can still do the same for you if you will get at his feet. Who possesses the courage and the resolve to move from where you are right now to get at his feet? If you have never been to his feet, then I invite you to come right now for salvation. If you have been there and have wandered away, then I invite you to return to his feet and rediscover the blessings that can only be found there. If you are at his feet right now, then I invite you to come before him, thank him, and for allowing you to be there and ask him to help you remain close to him as you need to be. So the question then is, are you doing everything it takes to be at his feet? Oh yeah.
Go front.
That God has raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For with the heart one believes unto righteousness, and with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. The scripture says, whoever believes in him will not be put to shame. For it is no distinction between Jew and Greek, for the same word over all is rich to all who call upon him. Whoever follows him, Lord, I thank you for the today will know what you do, by all of us, by the things